When you look at reviews of the G-Shock GBD 200, you will notice a common theme. Everybody loves the MIP screen. Everybody hates every other feature of the watch. Now, I'm being a little bit dramatic here. When I say hate, most people are actually indifferent. They don't care anything about any other mode except time-telling mode. And really what seals the deal for this watch, for those who love it, is just the screen, just the MIP screen. And so let's look at the GBD 200 as an example of G-Shock's MIP screen introduction and how we've got to this point as fans of G-Shock, just demanding that they make a watch that has an MIP screen as beautiful as the GBD 200, but with solar charging and none of the extra features, just basic G-Shock watch features. Now, going to Shockbase, or actually, excuse me, let me talk a little bit about G-Squad. G-Squad popped up that it was this whole line of watches that were fitness-orientated, that really they just had step counters when they first came out. And I believe that the first one was the GBD 100, but it may have been the GBD 800. I don't know. I probably should have researched that. I didn't, because we're looking at the GBD 200. But not to confuse the issue, it's pretty much a G-Shock watch with a step counter, and is a Bluetooth connectivity to a phone app that's supposed to tell you about your, all of your health. What do they call it? Health stats. But it's just a step counter, really. Okay? And so the GBD 200 was introduced into the what do they call it again? G-Squad, the G-Squad lineup. And it was noticed because it had kind of a updated appearance to the classic G-Shock Square watch, but it had this beautiful MIP screen. Okay, an MIP screen is a special kind of screen that has memory and pixel. So it's like a dot matrix of little dots that are the dots are the LCDs rather than having the segments. Like on the old-fashioned LCD watch, each digit is made up of, I think, 7 segments. But the MIP screen is something different, and it has much better legibility than the standard LCD that's been around for decades. So according to Shockbase.org, the GBD 200 was released in July of 2021. Now, going over to Amazon, we can see that right now, 3.5 years later, the G-Shock GBD 200 is selling at a pretty good clip. Over 600 of these watches are bought in the per month. Now, right now, it's selling at $110, 27% off the retail price. And so it appeals to normies. And because of the screen, because of the overall looks. Now, those of us who are watch nerds, we're obviously not normies. And so we're going to look at our opinion of the G-Shock GBD 200 and also the normie opinion of the GBD 200. Because it's, like I said at the onset of the video, people love the screen. People do not like every other feature of the GBD 200, okay? The MIP screen is a home run, and every other feature of the watch is a strikeout, all right? And so I have cherry-picked a bunch of Amazon reviews to use as examples that really stack the deck in favor of the thesis of this entire presentation. DRA, an Amazon buyer, wrote in his review on September 20th, 2022, he says, "Do not buy for its smart capabilities. Buy for its amazing face and rugged design." Okay? And so he says, I would advise against buying this watch for its Bluetooth and app capabilities. Instead, buy this watch because it has one of the most beautiful and legible digital watch faces I've ever seen. First things first, this is far from a smartwatch that the marketing would have you believe. Yes, you can send your phone notifications, which is great, but know that you have no control over which ones. It sends them all. The fitness trackers are essentially useless and very cumbersome to use. Not to mention navigating anything is painfully slow. So you can forget about using this as a smart fitness tracker. There are just better options for that. On the other hand, if you are someone who wants a solid and reliable workhorse of a digital watch, this thing is great. It has the most amazing looking display with huge typeface. It has one face with your local time displayed, very large, and another face that displays an additional time zone of your choice as well. The light is easy to use as it's a large button in the center of the watch. One thing to note regarding the auto light feature is that once activated within the settings, it will only remain activated for a few hours, and then you will have to go to the menu to turn it on again. Let me skip down. I have small wrists for an adult, and this watch is big for me, but it's not over the top. Overall, the price is great. Digital watch that will last you a very long time. I personally have the watch in airplane mode and do not use it with the app or for notifications. If that's important to you, get an Apple Watch and have fun charging it every night. All right, so that's DRA, an Amazon buyer, and that's his review. Now, I would like to note that the GBD 200 had a battery, okay? And the battery is said to last 2 years. And that depends on how much you use it. If you're using that Bluetooth all the time and the light all the time, the battery life will become diminished. If you only use it for time, you could probably get a lot more out of the battery, far past the 2 years as advertised. But the thing is, G-Shock lovers love solar charging. And so the problem with this watch is that it didn't have solar charging. And so many people were saying, G-Shock, just make a watch with this screen and solar charging. And to us, it sounded so simple. But here we are in the year of our Lord 2025, and we are just now getting a watch that fits that bill. But let me just keep on going through to show you the pain and suffering and all the agony those of us suffered for the past 2.5 years. Here's another review from Dude Man 5000 of the GBD 200, who gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And the title of his review is "The MIP is Slow." And the text of his review is, "I love the MIP display." And that's the end of his review. Thank you, Dude Man 5000. Here's another review from Abe Foreman, and he wrote this review on April 23rd, 2022. He says, "I use this watch without the Bluetooth features, and it is very similar to my DW5600, only this has the far superior MIP display. I could honestly do without the additional Bluetooth stuff. I really just want the features of the standard G-Shock Square with the MIP display. This is as close as I found for now." And that's Abe Foreman's review. And this review is from David Radoba. Now, those of you watching on YouTube see this wall of text, and I will not read it all, but those of you listening on the podcast, I will read the key points, skipping around. Now, this is an obvious, David Rodoba is an obvious G-Shock dude, okay? Probably an OG, but anyways, he says, "I've had a DW5600 for a few years. G-Shocks are like potato chips. You can't have just one. The 5600 is classic, and its features have served me well. But as middle age ravages your eyes, you can't see as well as you used to. The GBD 200 caught my attention because of the large display. After doing some reading, I bought one, and I'm not disappointed. I don't exercise much outdoors, so the activity monitor is interesting but not often used. I have no comment about this feature except that it seems to count steps and measure distance satisfactorily even when not paired with a phone, Now, the pros he lists as the MIP display, the displayed information, the Bluetooth connectivity works well, easy configuration through the app, hyper accurate when paired with Bluetooth, extra button for backlight, large easy buttons, vibrating countdown timer expiration. Those are the pros. The cons he lists as negative display, lack of hourly chime, long strap, alerts coming from the phone are too much, stopwatch only counts in full seconds." And he sums it up as such. After about a day, I put the watch into airplane mode and I've never connected to the phone again. I quickly realized I just don't need to be connected and found the constant alerts, which I couldn't easily read, to be far more distraction than enabler. So my GBD 200 is now a dumb watch, but the display alone makes this watch the daily driver. I'd buy it all over again! Exclamation point. All right, thank you, David Rotobaugh. He's probably listening, because he does sound like a G-Shock OG. Old White Guy, that's his name, on Amazon, wrote this review. And I know that Old White Guy is here. That probably describes about 95% of you. All of you gentlemen who are listening, Old White Guys. Anyways, Old White Guy writes on June 1st, 2025, he says, okay, I have a lot of G-Shocks, maybe 15 or so. I have the 5600, the 5610, GA 2100, and more. So I can honestly say this is the most comfortable, most legible, most attractive one I have. The display, it really is incredible. Because of my age, I struggle with smaller displays, even the 5600 at times. This one is super crisp, and it only has the information I want on a watch face that is spread out and easy to find. It's so easy to read at any angle. The band is very comfortable and attractive. It has checkered stripe running down the middle. I don't notice in pictures. Looks very nice. The buttons are much better designed than the 5600 in my opinion. They're easy to find and push, but you'll never have to worry about accidentally activating them. Connecting the Bluetooth was easy, but once I did, I put on airplane mode and will leave it there until I feel a need to update the time. I don't care about notifications or anything on my watch. And the step counter works independently, so you won't need Bluetooth connectivity to use it if you want, which is nice. I renamed the workout timers to just timer and use that as a countdown timer when I need. It works the same. All in all, this is a fantastic watch, and I don't see me wearing my 5600 or 5610 as much now. It is better in my opinion. Hope this helps you decide. All right, Old White Guy. You thought you were only reading or only writing a Amazon review. Little did you know that you would be featured on the Jim Kincaid YouTube channel. And so this Old White Guy, I think, brings up a good point. You know, he's talking about how he likes the GBD 200 because, you know, his aging eyes. He's becoming farsighted in his older years. And so one premise might be that, oh, well, the GBD 200, that's for the younger set. The younger crowd, they really like all that Bluetooth. And I don't agree. I do not agree with that. I think that watches are really becoming far more popular with the young bucks, the young men nowadays who have been brought up in this Bluetooth EMF field of everything being a smart device. Like, they grew up not seeing their parents' face because there was always a camera phone pointed at them. And so they saw the lens of a camera phone more often than they saw their own mom's face. And I think that a lot of them are trying to rediscover the simplicity and beauty of just basic devices, basic watches. And so the whole idea that we need to have these connected devices with Bluetooth really speaks to the young people. I think that's flawed. My opinion is that I think G-Shock could really make inroads with a younger set by just producing basic watches. Okay? And so they have to kind of put aside that deep desire for Bluetooth everything with the whole, sign up with your email just to use a watch, to create an account, click on I agree to terms of service just for a watch. I think that attracts more investors in the company than it does watch buyers. That's kind of my hunch. I don't know what you guys think, but if you have an opinion about that, I'm sure that you're already typing it in the comments, so please continue. So when you go to the G-Shock website, the GBD 200 Full retail price is $165. Now on the site, the rating is 4.7 with 19 reviews. So it's 4.7 stars out of 5 with 19 reviews. So when you scroll down and look at the reviews, which on one of these by Robert E., he says, just received my Casio GBD200 last week. After having owned one G-Shock before this, 5600, I was very familiar with the build quality and indestructible characteristics of the watch. The display, however, was very difficult to read in low light. Enter the GBD200. The display is outstanding. The build quality, outstanding. I have the all-black version, which is very stealth in its styling. It has a very bright backlight and a super comfortable band with slots for multiple adjustments. I really just bought this for the display alone. It's easy enough to sync to your phone should you wish to use the different fitness screens. I highly recommend the GBD200. It is well worth every penny. And so, like I said, I think that all this data that I picked, which is all cherry-picked, really proves my point that the GBD200 was bought for physical characteristics, namely the screen and the actual watch, because it did have a bunch of improvements to the physical design over the so-called iconic square design. And the thing is that I, as a G-Shock watch reviewer on YouTube, I haven't reviewed this one. And it's been out since July 2021. Okay, so that's actually 3.5 years. I think earlier I said 2.5. 3.5 years, right? That this watch has been out. And I have not, actually it's 4.5. Man, I cannot do math. I cannot add time up in my head. That's probably the reason why I have a watch. Because I need someone to just tell me the time, right? July 2021, so 4.5 years. That since the introduction of the GBD200, I have not bought it or reviewed it because I have heard about how cumbersome the whole interface is. Now the watch should be long enough. It has a nice long band from what I understand. One of my coworkers actually has one. Austin has a GBD200 with a so-called Stormtrooper, the one that has like an off-white body, like the bezel and the band are off-white color. And, he uses it out here in the oil field. So it's a confirmed tough watch. The display is beautiful. But I've heard about how painfully slow and cumbersome the whole interface of the watch is. And so maybe I should buy it just to make a rant video. People like to watch a train wreck of a video. Maybe me trying to just do stuff on the watch would be entertaining for those who like to witness human suffering on YouTube. Specifically the suffering of Jim Kincaid. But anyways, I don't know if we're actually going to do that, but I mean, if you're interested in watching me suffer through navigating the GBD200, I mean, let me know. If enough people do, I will go through with it. Maybe one of my kids will buy it for me as a prank, But anyways, GBD200, that 4.5 years. So what's happened since then? Well, when the GBD200 came out, everybody is saying, Casio, just make a G-Shock like this, but with solar charging, and get rid of the step counter. Get rid of, all that Bluetooth notification nonsense. Just take the old Square and update the screen, pretty much, right? Did that happen? Well, no, it didn't. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit. Mad Watch Collector, listen to what he has to say about the GBD200.
Let's see a little more originality, shall we?
So there we go, the GBD200. I've got to say, I really like the watch. I love the colour. The resin strap is an upgrade from the 5610, no doubt. Guys, it's worth getting this watch just for the screen. It's just amazing. I'm not too fussed about the smartwatchy stuff. I don't like the notifications that I'm getting all the time. You know, when it comes to Casio watches, it's the time, it's the stopwatch, and maybe an alarm, but I don't need anything more. I'm not someone that wants to connect my watch to my phone, so all those bits and bobs are lost with me, to be honest. But like I said, it is definitely worth getting this watch. A, for the screen, and B, just because it looks cool. I mean, it looks retro modern, you know? Is that a thing? Retro modern?
Yes, sir, Mad Watch Collector. Retro modern is a thing now that you have said it. And so this is just one more watch, and he reviewed a GBD 200, but this particular one was notoriously ugly in its design. So ugly it was actually good looking. It's all orange and gray. But here's what Jody at Just One More Watch said about the GBD 200.
Okay, so that's us done with the first layer then. Even if you never hook this watch up to your phone, if none of the extra features are of interest to you, you have a reasonably priced at between 125 and 150 US dollars, average anyway, reasonably sized, I think, lightweight G-Shock with all of those usual protective features, 200 meters of water resistance, etc. An incredibly legible display either by day or by night. Menu system, not as easy though, I will say that, and the stopwatch, as I said, not as accurate either, only down to 1 second. Even then, get the right price on one of these and get the right color on one of these, and I think there's enough to recommend it, even if you don't take this watch any further. But of course, this watch can do so much more. Let's have a look at the app. Okay, so this is the watch.
All right, so again, I guess I really beat the thesis of this video to death, right? Which is something I learned in high school. You know, when you write a thesis paper, you know, like you're supposed to prove a point. Like I would prove it so well, you know, on all my research papers. And I think that, you know, this podcast today is kind of like another research paper. And the thesis is that everybody loves the screen of the GBD 200. Everybody hates every other feature. And I really stack the deck on this one, so much so I think that there's no countervailing argument. Go ahead, someone find me a video where someone's like, throw out your Apple iWatch because the GBD 200 is a better smartwatch. Throw out your Garmin. The GBD 200 is a better fitness watch. Someone find that video review anywhere. I dare you to. Anyways, let me get back to the main course of thought, which was 4.5 years have gone by since the introduction of the GBD 200. And, you know, what has Casio done? Well, like I said, everybody was clamoring for them just to make an MIP watch with solar charging. And a lot of people were saying, hey, you know, copy the old styling. We want the old Square, but with an MIP screen, meaning they wanted the old menu system and tough solar. Now, into that environment came the DWH 5600. And this watch, at first glance, looked like everybody's dream watch, their grail watch, an MIP G-Shock. It had the old-fashioned square style, and it had an MIP screen and a solar panel along the perimeter. Well, guess what? The DWH 5600 had a heart rate monitor on the back. And everybody was looking around at each other when this came out and were like, who asked for a heart rate monitor? Casio G-Shock. Who said take the Square and add a heart rate monitor? Everybody was looking around at each other. Nobody had said that. Out of nowhere comes an MIP Square watch, but it has a heart rate monitor. And it cost $300. And that solar panel that you saw along the perimeter, well, that was just solar assist. Because on the back, you can see there was an attachment for recharging. That whole solar system just gave the watch's battery a little boost. You still had to plug it into a USB charger to get the full juice back because that heart rate monitor sucked it down so quickly. Now, I did get a DWH 5600, and I tested it out. And, you know, a lot of it was I was expecting to have something to rant about, something to complain. And I did. But I did come to like the watch. Now, the most popular question by far is how long does it last if you just use it as a watch? And the answer is, if you just use it as a watch, it would probably last a year if you got plenty of sun, maybe even a little bit more, but eventually you'd have to plug it in to charge. So at that point, I mean, how is that much different than having to change a battery? If your intention was to never charge it, you wanted that solar charging, the solar charging, in my experience, could not keep it going forever. Okay, and I live in an area with a lot of sun. I live in West Texas, which, you know, in the United States, there's not many more people who live closer to the equator than I do. And, like, I just could not get enough sunlight that I felt like it could just keep on going forever. A year, maybe two. But, you know, in the winter months, or if you're not going outside enough, it could probably dip down. And that's my verdict. Now, obviously, I haven't, like, tested that, but that's based on the data I extrapolated. So it was a disappointment from what everybody wanted out of a G-Shock and what G-Shock gave us. From what I remember, the man who spilled the beans on the existence of the DWH-5600 was Jason DeCastro over at Design Altier. And he made some videos about the DWH-5600, and they got tons and tons of comments. Guys are writing whole walls of text ranting about G-Shock, just take off all this dumb heart rate monitor stuff. And he had a pretty good breakdown. Let me just play you this clip from his video, The Ugly Truth About the DWH-5600.
The DWH-5600 is actually expensive. At $300, this is twice the GBD200's cost and about 54 Happy Meals more than a regular Square. Let's level our G-Shock heads for a moment and contemplate. You're most likely buying a heart rate monitor that you don't need. You're connecting your watch to a subpar app to your phone. You're now going to have to charge your watch every now and then when all you wanted was an MIP display. All that for $300. Knowing G-Shock, they...
Now, Jason DeCastro was, he used dollar comparison among those watches. But he also included Happy Meals because, you know, to appeal to us Americans, you know, we measure monetary value in Happy Meals. But anyways, his point is a valid one. The DWH-5600 was in the vein of the GBD200 in that guys were buying it just for the screen. And the problem is that the heart rate monitor, when the watch was first purchased, would leave an imprint in your flesh. Looked like a dog's paw. The heart rate monitor stuck out so proud from the back of the watch. Now, I've been wearing the DWH-5600. I can say that after it breaks in, it's not as bad, but it does take a long time for the DWH-5600 to break into the point where the heart rate monitor does not hurt you. Okay, so that came out in around 2023. I probably should have looked at when it came out. Let me see if Shockbase will allow me to find out when the DWH-5600 came out. Now, the problem with searching on Shockbase is that if you don't type in the exactly model number, it won't, like with all the little dashes, it won't parse it correctly. All right, here we go. I found it, shockbase.org. May 2023, the DWH-5600 came out. So July 2021, the GBD200. Everybody's saying, Casio, make a solar-powered MIP watch. None of that cruff. And May 2023, about 2 years later, they come out with the DWH-5600, which has a classic square styling, an MIP screen, and solar charging, but that solar charging is not tough solar. It does not completely charge the watch, and even more unnecessary features. And so finally, here we are, December 2025. We're just a few days short of entering into 2026. And Casio has introduced the GW BX 5600. And they have not even released it yet into the United States. So I've gone to Casio's international website, and a pop-up has come onto the screen. It says select a location, United States or international. Now I'm in the United States. I am in the America of America, a place known as Texas. It's America's America. And I'm looking around, making sure that nobody's watching. I'm going to click on international just so I can see this product listing. A little bit dishonest, but I'm doing it for the show. A lot of you guys are international. At this point, I'm not even sure where this is released. I've seen some YouTube videos of guys handling this watch. I don't know where it's available at this point. It is not available in the United States as I'm recording this. Okay, now the international website says that it was released November 2025. But the truth is, until it's released in the United States, I mean, you know, it's not like really released. Sorry to sound so Americo-centric, but I think they're trying to goose the numbers because they don't want people noticing that the GBD 200 came out in July 2021 and the GWBX 5600 is coming out in January 2026. So, you know, 4.5 years of them to finally release just a basic G-Shock with an MIP screen and tough solar charging. Why did it take that long? I don't get it. Someone explain this to me, okay? So the GWBX 5600 takes the iconic 40 plus year old design of the original G-Shock Square watch and updates the screen with an MIP screen. And as far as I know, the watch functions are, you know, basic. You don't have to dive in and out of menus, and you can change the text of the screen to have what looks like a 7-segment display. So we finally get our MIP watch. Now, will I be getting this? That's a good question because, you know, I've been on the forefront of demanding that they fix the stopwatch to calculate fractions of a second. Like, this is a whole nother subject, but all of these previous MIP watches did not show you fractions of a second because the screen can't refresh fast enough. And I said, that's fine. I understand the screen can't refresh fast enough, but when we press stop, please just display fractions of a second. Because it's insane as a football coach. You go out to time the 40-yard dash, and everybody's getting 4, 5, or 6 seconds because there's no fractions of a second, right? My Citizen ProMaster Land has a chronograph that calculates fractions of a second, and it has a MIP subdial. When you stop the stopwatch, it will then show you fractions of a second. It doesn't show you them as it's elapsing. I mean, nobody can really see it, because it just is like a blur of numbers. But anyways, will I be getting it? Well, when you go to the Casio website on their watches, they've added this feature. When you click on the exterior, it shows you the compatible band size, meaning really the circumference of your wrist. And this goes up as wide as 205 millimeters. And so I think that they personally targeted me with this watch release because I've been a thorn in their sides with all of these videos I've been producing, telling them, you know, calling them out, being like, listen, what's your problem? Garmin can make a watch with an MIP screen that can be powered completely and indefinitely with solar charging, but you guys can't? Casio can't? Garmin can, Casio can't. What's going on? Someone explain this. And the other thing is that the DWH 5600 had a really long band. My wrist is 8.5 inches around, and the standard square watch really didn't fit. That's why my son owns my GWM 5610. It's because it really doesn't fit. And the smaller G-Shocks go out to 205 millimeters. So they've carried over the smaller wristband because I made a video yelling at them, screaming at them. Like it's a YouTube short. Well, all I'm doing is yelling at them. Just change the screen. I believe that's the title of the video. I can't really remember, but that's the mantra. It's like, G-Shock, take your classic Square watch, just change the screen. That's it. And that video is very popular because everybody's screaming that at them. Just change the screen. And so they targeted me. They're like, oh, you just want to change the screen? Okay. Well, we'll make sure that the band stays extra small for you, Jim Kincaid. And so, all right, if I buy the GW BX 5600, which is this new Square MIP watch, I'm going to have to change out the band. I'm going to have to take out the Corridor band from my GA 2100 BCE and use that Corridor band because the Corridor band fits. The Corridor band is longer and the adapters, it fits. So that's what I'm going to have to do. When this watch is available in the United States, will it be available by Christmas? I don't know. Now that I think about it, they could have it released December 2025. But here we are. Right now I'm recording this December 8th, 2025. Not available in the United States. They've already missed Black Friday. And the only people on YouTube who have it from the United States have bought it from international markets. What international market it is available in, I do not know. I cannot make sense out of it, all right? I have a hard time navigating the GBD 200. That's how smart I am. So goes to show you, I can't figure out where it's available. Is it available in Japan? I don't know. China? I don't know. Brazil? I don't know. United States? No. That's all I know. So that's the information I have so far. But anyways, stay tuned because we'll find out whether the GW BX 5600 is all it's cracked up to be, whether they've updated the timer to be longer than an hour, whether they've updated the stopwatch to calculate fractions of a second. Burning questions that I want to know. And even if the GW BX 5600 doesn't fit me, I know that you guys will be interested in it and will want to know, is it durable? Will the Watch Bopper 5000 get the best of the GW BX 5600? Gentlemen, stay tuned. Lord willing, we will find out. And speaking of the Lord, let me remind you that, first of all, Jesus is the reason for the season. All right, Christmas is all about celebrating the birth of God's gift to mankind, Jesus Christ. And as I always say, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through him. I'm Jim Kincaid. Thanks for watching.